You're listening to another episode of Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. This is the place we're entitled to Brad's Opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
All right. Getting close to election time. Just as a reminder, early election days start next Monday, the 24th. Today I have Rob Duke, candidate for place 3 for the Burleson School Board. And we're going to talk about what he's learned in his campaign, what his favorite parts are about the districts and the parts that he's concerned about. If you all have questions, you know where to put them out here. If they come up, we'll try to get to them. I'm looking forward to this conversation because I always am interested to hear what people outside the district, in a sense, you know, what when they're out there campaigning, what are they hearing about BISD and what its needs are and what its strengths are and things of that nature. I guess I hope that's been happening for you, right?
It has. It has. I've had some good conversations.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you can't name names, but that's fine too. But as far as concerns and whatnot, I like our district well, but I'm not naive enough to think that there's things that we can do better on and improve. And I don't know anybody that works for the district that would disagree with that statement. We're always trying to do better. Okay, and doing my sharing here with the various platforms. Come on, one more. There's about 8 or 9 of these that I try to share with because there we go. I got the last one.
Check all the boxes.
Yeah, I got 7 of them that I these group chats on Facebook and whatever else. And
Here, I'm going to go on and share it.
Okay.
My personal page.
And while you're doing that, I'll be talking about our sponsors here. Thank you, Daniel, CrossFit Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. Go there, check the page at CrossFitBurleson.com and find out what the plans are, the regimens are, the training, the classes, etc. So it's over at 317 Southwest Wilshire. Thank you, Shandy, who's also a school board member. As everybody knows, she'll be on next Tuesday, place 4. But she comes on here pretty often as our expert in real estate. So if you're looking to move in and around this area, she's the woman to talk to because she knows real estate and she knows what the rates are doing. And she'll tell you, don't get as concerned as it sounds and things of that nature. She'll help you through it and she'll hold your hand. So there you are. Check her out if you're looking to move in this area. Thank you also to Otto. I believe the meet and greet that Ronnie and Larry are having are just ending. I think they have another one tomorrow at our place. So if you want to meet the candidates or beat the candidates, whatever, our place restaurant, they'll be there tomorrow. Also, thank you to Chris at Wild Cigar and Culture. He's also available for whatever meets and greets you want to do. Get you a smoke, get you a drink. It's a good place to do business. Also, thank you to Tiffany Nico over at locallifetx.com. Check out her summer advertising opportunities. There's some specials and deals going on. Summertime is when a lot of people do a lot of business, so you might want to get your advertising in. It goes directly to 30,000 homes, and it's a very spot-on advertising, very direct advertising. It's one of the best advertising magazines in this DFW area, so check out Local Life. The last issue had most of the candidates on. Also, thank you, Southern Jim. You need to take Mrs. Duke up here. Have you ever done that before?
No.
The mic needs to be a little bit closer.
Oh, sorry about that.
You can move it around.
All right. How's that?
That's better. The Southern Gym, I'll take her up there. They're trying to move downstairs. I see Kayla once a week at our BNI meetings, and I say, when is it coming? And she's like, about to go crazy because of all these delays. But anyways, they're on the 3rd floor right now, soon to be on the 1st floor. So check it out. It's Mother's Day coming up, so the women in our lives need a little appreciation. Don't worry about that. Also, thank you to First Do Detailing Services with Caleb Patino. He'll come out to your place of business, your home, wherever, and wash and detail it. Several of my BNI friends have had him do their cars, and they say it's even better than when they took it off the lot. So call Caleb at 817-776-0478. That is 817-776-0478, and Caleb will set you up an appointment, and your car will be better than it's ever been. Thank you also. Come on, one more. There is Thrive. All right, she's also being on. Dee Dee was on last Thursday. You can find out how she can help your business in all the various ways. Not just social media. She'll slap me if I just say that. It's a whole support system for business. The entire communications, billings, getting your name out there in front of people, advertising, the whole 9 yards. It's a complete business support system. So 520-955-7860. That's 520-955-7860. Call Dee Dee, and you'll be glad you did. and our newest sponsor. No, I forgot this one. Sorry, Melissa. Also a BNI member, Texas Farm Bureau, 682-804-0534. That's 682-804-0534. Have her check out your insurance. I mean, this is the time to do it. We're in storm season, and you want to make sure that your roof is properly covered and that, whatever possibilities that'll happen in storms, that you're properly covered. You want to find out the hard way that your insurance is inadequate. So have her check it out, 682-804-0534. And if we do have damages, our newest sponsor can help you. That's Stop Restoration with Lisa and Morris Smith. They're here right off the Chisholm Trail Parkway, so they're very, very close. And they do a great job. And it's not just for damage caused by storms, but they do a lot of mold work. And you just can't find many people to do that. To do mold work and mold remediation, you have to be especially certified to do it by the state. And that's not easy to get. So they're experts in all these kind of things. So if you have a hot water leak or something like that, it's not just, it didn't need a tornado or something like that to call them. If you have some sort of breakdown in the dishwasher and it causes a big leak, and you don't want to just let the water lie there. So they'll take care of all these problems. So give them a holler if you need some of that kind of work done. They're really good people, and they get it right the first time. She has me trained for that. Also, this Sunday we had the Lost Oak Vineyard and Vibes with Harvest House with Jennifer Woods. It's a great cause and great opportunity. So check out their webpage. There's a QR code for tickets. It's $15 there, $20 at the gate. Also, you can buy and or donate a glass of wine for $8.50. Lost Oak is one of the great places to do a lot of these venues. That's another great place to do a little meet and greet and such as that. So thank y'all for all this is going on. So what would you like to talk about first, Mr. Duke?
I want to back up to one of your sponsors, if you don't mind.
No, please.
I have Farm Bureau Insurance. They're awesome. I have a different agent, same office.
Right.
But something you touched on, being a roofer, check your policies. Check your policies. This time of year, we find that a lot. People don't know what the coverage they have. They find damage, and it's a surprise. When I started roofing and left education, I sat down with my guy at Farm Bureau, Matt Riddenhauer, and I was like, let's talk policies. Now, I had a great policy, but just a little PSA, not really promoting anybody, but
well, you're promoting my sponsor in a sense. I'm fine with that. What's the name of your roofing company?
I work for Texas Direct Roofing and Construction. We do roofing, remodel, a lot of outdoor living, stuff like that.
That's good. Well,
so anyway, I just wanted to touch on that because
I appreciate that.
People get surprised sometimes, and they like, oh wow, didn't know that was there.
Yes, I've heard a lot of stories. When we get together at the BNI meetings, Lisa will get up there, and we have a roofer in our group, and they're like, I'm telling you, this old lady let it go for 30 years, and now it cost her, $1 billion to replace, and their insurance company wasn't very helpful, and all sorts of problems like that.
People want to save their insurance company's money, and guess what? They want to save money. So anyway.
All right. But what topic would you like to address first?
So, you and I talked a little bit off air. One of the things I'll kind of bring up, and I've had people reach out to me, about an incident that happened with my kid, and tough decision we made, but we pulled my son out of Centennial High School. Nothing to do with the district, not really anything to do with the school. But I just kind of, I want to be transparent for those who've asked me. And I know people have kind of talked about it a little bit here and there. And so let's just be open about it. And I'll kind of tell you my side of the story. You can draw your own conclusions, your own opinions. Maybe you say it was we shouldn't have done it. As I told you off air, it was the toughest decision I've made as a parent. I have a 20-year-old daughter, almost 20-year-old daughter, and my son's a sophomore, and it hurt. Still hurts, but we had to do what we thought was best for him, and it was ultimately his decision. So, nuts and bolts of it, the day, it's kind of funny, the timing of everything. The day I turned in my application for school board, a little later that afternoon, I get a phone call that he'd been kicked off the baseball team at Centennial. And if you know my kid, baseball his thing. He's given up all his other sports. He works hard. He's in the gym every morning. Try to find out what's going on with him, what's happening. There was an incident at school on social media that he wasn't a part of, that he's never been accused of being a part of. Was a Snapchat deal. I'm not real familiar with it, but somebody took a screenshot of a post. All the kids bailed. He started a new one. He left a kid out. The kid who took the screenshot didn't put him in the group. That was his part. I met with the coach a couple days later, kind of, hey, what's going on with this? He told me that happened. I was like, yeah, but other kids have done the same. Is that really what he got kicked off for? Then he told me that my son had sent a kid a threatening text message. I was like, man, he told me he had no part of this. I don't understand. I'd like to see it. He goes, well, I don't have it. The parent just showed it to me. It's like, it just doesn't make sense. My kid had, at this time, he hadn't been kicked off the baseball team. There's no need to send a threatening text message. What's going on here? Then it pivoted to he was no kids liked him on the baseball team, which I kind of pointed out. It was funny that all the parents reaching out to me saying what happened to us was just kind of really terrible and sorry, and the kids didn't like it. We were at a basketball game that night, and as we were leaving, my kid, he's a sophomore, he goes, Dad, he goes, it's funny. He goes, there's older kids I don't even talk to on the baseball team coming up to me and telling me what happened to me was just crazy and no good and shouldn't have happened. And he goes, I guess everybody's kind of on my side. And then 2 days later, the coach told me that nobody likes him and they all wanted him gone. And I will add that there were kids on the varsity, he's a JV player on the varsity, that were picking him up and taking him to the gym every morning before school, which I'm like, you'd think if nobody liked you, they wouldn't be doing that, right? But we left the meeting. I didn't feel satisfied with the answers I got. I did reach out to the parent of the kid who supposedly got the text message threat, and that mother had told me that the threat came from an anonymous number. They don't know who it was, which I'm like, okay, that makes sense. My son wouldn't have been him. And she went on to say that my kid wasn't always nice to her kid and kind of a jerk or whatever. And sorry, it came down to this, was the way she ended that text. Sorry that it came down to this. I met with the admin. They were great. We had a conversation, kind of went over everything. He did show me the text. It was from a number that I think they tried to do a reverse number search. It came back from somebody nobody knew who it was. But I left that meeting with 4 questions, right? That I wanted kind of answers to. And Mr. Bowman at Centennial was awesome in the AP I worked with. And it was, number 1, my kid was never given any kind of due process. Like, what's up with that? He didn't even get a chance to tell his side of the story. Number 2 was, I have provided you with the info that this text message was not a threat. I mean, the threat was not sent from my kid, who had no reason to send it. So why is he getting attributed to that? I kind of was more curious about no kids liking him. I didn't understand that part because it didn't match any of the reception we were getting from people. And then the 4th part was, if you don't like my kid and don't want him on the team, hey, you're the coach. Just tell me that's what it is. Like, let's just call it is what it is. So, which I told you off air, my kid has good grades, National Honor Society. He's active in student council. For the most part, people seem to like my kid. I know he's a little hyper sometimes, but it is what it is. Principal called me back later that afternoon. He got me my 4 answers. Number 1, the due process part. And this did happen. The coach had called him in the office and said, Jackson, I want to ask you, do you remember the conversation we had at the end of last year? Of course, 2 kids got kicked off the team. One had gotten kicked off the team at 9:00 that morning or whatever time, like first, second period. My kid had 0 part to do with anything, had no clue he was in trouble. So he's like, Coach, I'm not sure which conversation you're talking about. He goes, and that's why you're no good for my team. You don't care enough. Get out of here. Get your stuff and get out of the locker room. Which, kind of blew me away. Like, God, this kid didn't even know he's in trouble. He's in trouble. And you're asking him, do you know what you're in trouble for? Right. The second thing, the text message threat, the answer I got from the principal was 2 parents came in. 2 parents said that they thought it was him. He asked a couple kids he trusted. They thought it was him, and that's all he needed to make a decision on that. Even though I can show you where the parent told me it was, they didn't know who it was. Mm-hmm. Thirdly, yeah, he's just a distraction and toxic, which again, doesn't make sense to me. And then, no, I like him. He's a good, talented ball player, a lot of potential, but he just focuses his efforts in the wrong spot or something to that degree, which, thanked him for their time. I did ask the coach, I said, is my kid done? He goes, he's done. I was like, we talking this year? We talking forever? He goes, he's done this year. He can't be in the PE class ever again, I say PE, the baseball class where the baseball players are. He goes, he's welcome to go through tryouts. We'll see what happens. So my wife and I had to make a decision, and we left it up to my kid. I'm like, if you want to play baseball, it's not happening here. Coach was pretty clear about that. Maybe you can redeem yourself. There's no saying that. With UIL rules, this happened at the very beginning of baseball season. You have a 1 year. If we do not plan on moving. That's not in our options. But if you're going to go play in another district, you have to do it now, or you're going to miss your season as a junior. If we wait to the end of the year, he chose to do it now. I'll tell you this, just to kind of reinforce some of my stuff. The other day, I ran into a kid who is on the varsity I've never talked to before, and he came up to me and he said, he goes, Mr. Duke, he said, did you go talk to the district with this thing on Jackson? I'm like, yeah, we had conversations. He goes, because I don't understand why he's off and he didn't do anything, and something else has happened since. And he goes, and this kid stays on the team and no repercussions. And I said, well, at the end of the day, Coach boiled it down to that you guys, the varsity guys, don't like him. And he's a distraction and none of his teammates do. And he looked at me and he kind of rolled his eyes. He goes, I can't think of a person that doesn't like Duke. He works hard and he's very funny. And we like having him around. He goes, there might be one that doesn't care for him. Which kind of solidified what I was thinking. And I had multiple other conversations I won't necessarily get into, but that was it. I told you it was tough. I love Centennial. I love everything about it. The teachers have always been good with my two kids. The admin's changed several times. Mr. Bowman was great. It's about baseball, but it's not just about baseball, because now you're starting to affect friend groups and peer groups and who you can hang out with. All of a sudden he goes from having a ton of friends to everybody's together after a baseball game or baseball practice, and he's sitting at home, and he had cut himself off from some people that he knew were doing bad things that he had gone through middle school with, just things he didn't want to be associated with. He'd quit a lot of the other extracurricular activities he was doing for baseball. And so we were kind of worried about him maybe making a wrong choice, but that's it, man. That's why we made the decision. Like I said, ultimately it was his, but we felt it was in the best interest of our kid. Call it a sports decision. I think it had more implications than just sports, but it's what we felt was right for him.
Yeah, may I ask you a couple of questions?
Please.
I want to be pretty careful not to intrude on a family situation, because it's a very sensitive situation. You have the ability to go to the school board and make a complaint known. Did you consider doing that?
I did. The two things kind of came into play by doing that. Is one, timeline. Like, we needed to act fast because we have a 365-day waiting period. And two, I felt like there was two incidences in which I really believe that Coach lied to my face. One with the text, and two with the things that most of the kids don't like him. Maybe it's one or two, whatever. Mm-hmm. And do I want my kid put back on that team? I mean, is he going to get a fair shake at that point? Even after he's left, there's been comments, because we moved him to Godly. I'll say the school we moved him to. There's been comments about, if you don't like the way things are done around here, y'all can go to Godly too. I'll sign your papers. And there's another kid that went to Alvarado. So Godly and Alvarado, I'll sign your papers. So he wasn't going to get a fair shake. Maybe he would have, but we were kind of worried about retribution on that. And we decided not to make a lot of waves. It was, I felt like I handled it the right way. My first instinct was to go up, Coach, what's going on here? And just kind of raise my voice and yell. That's defending your kid. Mm-hmm. We decided, hey, let's do this a little more diplomatically. Didn't work for us. I know others have had different issues, and going up to school and kind of confronting right then and there seemed to have a little different effect, but that's not kind of the way we chose to operate.
Well, like I mentioned, in my long career, I've seen many parents go up to the school boards. If you are elected, you'll be on the other side of that table, and there'll be parents coming to you with similar stories or situations. Do you think that this incident will affect how you would judge those situations or act upon them?
I think it will. I do understand that ultimately coaches decide who's on their team. We go through tryout processes, and I think that's kind of important because that is their livelihood. But I think in a situation like this, whether it's my kid, your kid, whoever's kid, mm-hmm. I think there needs to be some sort of a due process. because it's not about ability, and especially if there's nothing that merits this, like this can really affect a kid and a family and friend groups with parents. I mean, there's a lot of things going on here. And I think it needs to be looked at objectively, and maybe there should be some kind of a hearing or a little more due process in a situation like this. If, had my kid failed a drug test or been caught vaping in the locker room or whatever, okay, he deserved it, but without any type of due process. And so I will look at that a little different. And I think these things need to be looked at a little harder and closer. If it's a parent with a bone to pick against your kid and they're allowed to come say whatever they want about them, and you're just going to, okay, you're gone, Well, you can tell I get a little fired up.
It's our children. That's a very, that's understandable. There is a grievance process that parents can file against the district or a particular educator or situation. It would have taken, though, quite some time. And if you're butting up against that 365-day UIL, it probably wouldn't have been resolved until this happened in February, I assume.
This happened in February.
Okay, I would. May only now be resolved. I mean, it's a long process.
We didn't move him right away because there was several weeks in, but this did happen in February. And I didn't know about the grievance process. That's kind of one of the things on my list here. We were talking. The list of questions and concerns is, what avenues do parents have? Well, for whatever even if it's their history teacher,
I had colleagues that had a grievance filed against them for whatever reason, and it. Well, in our little town, it's still kind of a small town because we still run into everybody. What would normally happen is they would talk to a school board member or somebody they knew in administration, and so maybe not a formal grievance would be filed, but maybe you could work it out unofficially. And whatnot, have a conversation and try to come to an agreement. But if you weren't satisfied, there was a grievance process. And God willing, I never brought up on that, but I had a couple of colleagues that were brought up on that, and it was a long experience and an arduous one for all parties involved.
Right, and I think the access to that, the knowledge that those things are out there, maybe should be looked at a little more. It's on me. I could have looked into it, but we also, I didn't know about an official grievance, but we had the discussion, is this something we really want to go through right now? Because it's...
Well, like I said, it is an arduous process for everybody because, it's a lot of emotion, a lot of tension. It's a formal process, and usually the grievance will go through central administration first. And if you are not satisfied with the situation, then you can present it to the board. And, how long that is, I couldn't tell you, but it wouldn't be done in a day.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not even going to really speculate how long, but it would take some time. And if you were fighting that clock so you could preserve your son's eligibility for next year, that kind of is a factor, I'm sure. But, I guess you bring up another point in a sense, is that a lot of people don't know all the aspects of our district that they're paying taxes for, and maybe if you are elected, this may be something that you can emphasize is communication. That's one reason why BISD and I do that monthly show, because they were saying we need to get the information out there because a lot of people really don't know.
100%. And this is embarrassing to my wife and I. This is embarrassing to our family that all of this happened. And it's also, here I am running for school board in the middle of all of this stuff that it happens. And I taught, my wife still teaches, we didn't know about a grievance policy. There's certain things we didn't know about. We've never had a need for it.
Well, if you'd have gone up to the school board, like in that open mic session and said some of these things, they would have directed you towards that. And all this, and sometimes people find that unsatisfactory.
Right.
Now, on the other hand, you try to follow certain procedures, and it just, but to be frank, I think those procedures should have been made known to you. I think it was on, and I'm not blaming the central district. I'm really calling out the principal. He should have made that known to you.
Yeah, it was not known, and at the same time, it was kind of. we were ready to move on. Like, let's quit making waves because it's, you make waves, you're riding a rough boat. And we didn't want my kid to go through that because he was already suffering a lot. And he still had friends. And if you're making hay,
well, I very much admire your transparency on this. I mean, I know it's painful, and I very much appreciate it. I did not really have any idea this was going on until we communicated on email. And I just, I don't know if I'd be quite so transparent because it's hard to talk about your children.
So there's two reasons. One, I did want transparency. People have asked, "Hey, I'm gonna throw this out there. This is what I'm going with." I think last time we talked, it was all very fresh, and I kind of told you, we have our issues, but it's nothing I'm running on, and we didn't have resolution. We were still in the middle of it. But two, I wanted a chance to tell our story. I've had even close friends of mine like, well, if he did it, he's like, but what did he do? Well, I don't know, but there has to be a reason. No, there was no reason given that I felt viable. Anyway, I am transparent. Maybe it is to my detriment. Maybe it's to my benefit, but it is.
It's to your benefit because
I'm a transparent person, man. I don't hide behind it.
No, everybody that has children would react in the same way. I've had, kids and I've had to go to their defense and whatever else. This person, a friend of yours, Danielle Allen, I can't read it as well as you can. I get the glare on the screen. Stand man right there.
Oh, yeah.
Stand up man.
Stand up man right there. Thank you, Danielle.
A friend of yours, I assume.
Oh, yeah. Danielle. Danielle's a great person if you don't know her. She's very active. She's been the president of the Burleson FFA Alumni Association. Her kids have long graduated, and she's still in there raising money, fighting for our kids. I mean, that's a stand-up person right there. Great lady.
Yeah, that's a good endorsement, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
As far as, what'll happen if you are elected as people will come to you in the grocery store, or they'll call you on the phone, or at church, or, pick a ball game, whatever, and they'll tell you these kind of stories. And your first inclination will be to, do something right away. Dr. Jimerson will tell you, though, they'll look into it, but it's a board member will have a hard time doing this by themselves without going through the process. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Yeah. There's definitely processes, but I also think that sometimes people just need to have their feelings validated, or at least be listened to. Maybe you don't validate them, but your feelings are your feelings. You can't argue your feelings. And there's times that I know that my feelings are irrational, but I can't change it.
It's when it's your kids. It's your kids. You're not going to be going through this logical process. All I'm saying is that this is going to be an unfortunate part of the job, and maybe this will give you some insight into the frustrations that some people have with these kind of institutions.
100%.
Yeah, and so if you like, let's talk about other things.
I'm ready to transition. That was enough about that, but I appreciate you letting me have that platform.
No, that's quite all right.
And kind of.
No, it's quite all right. Because, like I said, I like the district very, very well, but that doesn't mean mistakes aren't made. But, your daughter, just got her Texas Tech ring. I saw on the Facebook page.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you were very complimentary about the AP and dual enrollment that basically saved you a whole year of Texas Tech tuition.
Yeah, she just finished technically her second year of college, which because of dual credit and AP, it was really her third year of college. She got her Texas Tech ring. She'll graduate in 3 years and looking to get a major. She'll have a major in 4 years. And
a master's, you mean, or a major?
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm still a little emotional, Brian.
Right, I got you.
Yeah, but no, she'll have her master's in 4 years, and huge testament to that program that we have with the dual credit and stuff.
Right. What is she getting her master's in?
Well, her major is in animal science, and she's really wanting to get into working with animal breeding DNA, things like that, embryology in cattle. I don't know. Yeah. She kind of knows the direction. Last summer she internship at a commercial pig farm. This is the way my daughter sends her summer. Commercial pig farm in Missouri.
I bet that was malodorous.
She works at the Texas Tech pig farm, so she did research for a professor. So here pretty soon she will be a quote unquote published author.
Well, how about that? That's not something most kids could say that they did in college.
On the paper, with the professor and some of the grad students, they're all doing this research together. So, we're huge fans of that dual credit and just the choices in general that BIS, because that wasn't part of the Collegiate Institute. That was just as a student at Centennial High School.
Hey, they're offering in both, even if you don't go to that early college program. But I've had a lot of parents tell me that one of the best things in the last decade has been all the dual enrollment opportunities on those 3 campuses, because it saves them money. And then you couple that with the Burleson Opportunity Fund, and a lot of our Burleson kids are getting out of here with a Hill College associates, and they can take it to wherever they're going. Now, you asked me the difference earlier between AP and dual, and they serve different purposes. We mentioned AP has a national or international curriculum, which is sometimes controversial, I suppose. But if your daughter was going to, say, University of Washington or something like that, it might travel better. But for most of our students, I'd say 85% of them go, somewhere in Texas.
Right.
And dual works really well for them.
Tech, Tarleton, a lot of them, her classmates. UTA,
North Texas, some Aggies, unfortunately. And, it really has been a benefit, and I would say it's one of the best things we do in a school. Do you have other things that you would point out as some of the better things we do?
Yeah, I do. I think just preparing our kids in general, and we talked a little bit about this last time. I'm a huge proponent of the CTE program, and these kids coming out of here workforce ready or ready to get into a trade school, the ones that aren't college bound, and we do a great job of that. I think overall, there's people who will argue, and here I am telling my story and sob story earlier, but I think we have a great culture here, man. People are proud to be a part of our schools and part of our district, and I'm a huge fan of that. I think the school of choice, I have long thought that, whether you want to get into the whole debate, which neither one of us probably do right now, of school vouchers, I do think that being able to give students choices is awesome. Hey, you're more of a STEM kid. Here you go. We have a program for you. People with your interest, or the gaming school, here, focus on computers, because that's where your more, quote unquote, your people are, right? Because when you feel like you belong, and when you feel like you're part of a group, or your grades are going to be better, I think you're going to have a lot of less maybe addiction issues and propensity to do things that aren't good, because you're part of a community, and we offer the choices for kids, for I would say most kids, to go to a place where they feel comfortable and get the education that suits them best.
Well, Burleson, may have this small town feel to it, but they've always really been fairly progressive in terms of providing different opportunities for education. Even when I came here in 1990 to the high school, people from all over the state would come to see our honors and tag program and our special ed programs and things of that nature, and then AP as well. And so it was, even though we're not some big high dollar district, we had a lot of pretty accomplished people teaching in these districts, in these schools.
I love that. And the gaming schools like that, I mean, it's kind of one of the first of its kind, and people have come from all over just to see what's going on in Little Burleson, what used to be Little Burleson, Texas, right? Because we do good things, which I think is just, it's great for the leadership that we've had up to this point, because we're willing to try new things. And
the thing about the school boards, I've served over 30-something years with, the vast majority of them, there's a couple of clinkers in there, but the vast majority of the people were genuinely and earnest in their devotion to the students and to the teachers. And now, that's not to say I agreed with everything they did. I could tell you, there's some decisions the school board made, at this point that I thought, no, that's just not going to work, or it's not a great idea. But I'd never really doubted the intent of the people. The people that have been serving there, I really do believe had a servant's heart, even if I didn't agree with the ultimate decision.
Right.
And that's been a benefit that a lot of people just kind of take for granted almost with this school board. That we've had good people, and we have good people running and have run, and it's a blessing to this community. So, and not every community can say that.
I think that's, one of the things that drew us to this town when we moved here in 2007 was, we've talked about school, and I know you've brought up crime, but it was also just the people in this community that just it feels like home.
Well, it's election season, so elbows are being thrown and all that. But what I'm really glad, though, in the school board, at least that section of the race, your place 3 and place 4 have been very, very appropriate, very, very cordial. No, cheap shots or anything like that. That's a real relief, because if you win or your opponent wins, we're going to be in good shape. Same thing with place 4. If Shandy or Dallas or Caleb Mitchell, who's going on Friday, if one of the winner of that, we're going to be in good shape, and that's a good thing to have. It's nice to be able to have a decision to make like that, as opposed to which one is lesser tools or whatever else you want to say, But it's really good. Now you've had conversations with parents, so I'm sure they've been complimentary, but they also probably brought you concerns. What are those concerns been?
Everybody's kind of worried about the growth. I think sometimes there's information going out of what's actually being taught in the schools, and some of the curriculum things, which you and I talked about. In a lot of ways, schools kind of handcuffed on the curriculum. Now, meeting with Dr. Shirley, she said, hey, this is what we have, but the teachers can kind of navigate within the guidelines of that, which is pretty cool. But there's, being able to have some input on certain things, because there's decisions that kind of be made, and where is, are the parents kind of being thought of, whether it's trying to think of something specific, but sometimes let's do a little poll of our parents, or a satisfaction, or what did we call it when we were teaching, climate, kind of a deal. Right. Where's the concerns of our parents? And I've listened to your show, and I believe Shandy had some of those things, and some of the, which those are all some of the same things we've heard. Listening to some of the SPED parents with the SPED background, it's there was a discussion of not having inclusion anymore, or I'm sorry, not having resource room, and there's kids that need the resource.
That I've heard that too, and my wife worked with a lot of those ladies, both at BHS and Centennial. Frankly, I think they need something like that again.
I will say this: I know after talking to Dr. Shirelli that that's something that has been identified. I don't know what I can say out loud from our conversations and stuff.
I understand.
But I will say, having been a SPED parent, and this is teaching, is you have to go by what's in that IEP, and if resource room isn't available, then before they can have it, then all these kids are going to have to go back through an ARD and have, there's a lot of legal stuff.
Yes,
that has to be involved in making changes. So
I've been a participant in some of these ARDs as the teacher of the room. It's like, my goodness, that's a lot of paper to go through. A lot of details, like signing a mortgage or something.
Do not miss that.
That would take all period at least. But as far as other concerns about the curriculum, I don't know how much parents have to do with the curriculum, and I'm not sure how much they should have, because some parents may have an axe to grind or some agenda, and they may accuse the teachers of that. But I can tell you what the agenda is get those kids graduated, get those kids to STAR test, get those kids to pass, the AP test. That's the agenda. All the social studies teachers I knew didn't have time to be involved in their personal ideologies and stuff like that. And I'm not disparaging the coaches, but during season, they're working 80 hours a week. They ain't got time to be teaching, something that's off the radar. They just need to get through it.
I know you hear something in a government class that may lean the opposite direction of where you lean, or an opinion from a teacher, and it's like, oh, they're teaching this Nazism or this socialism, things like that.
Oh yeah. That didn't happen to me too often, because I had the old enough students, mature enough students, and I gave them leeway to respond without any kind of intimidation, if you want to say that.
Right.
In fact, some of my favorite and best supportive, most supportive students were not of my political ideology, and I really liked that, and they liked the fact that they could express it, we could debate it, but it would be in the appropriate situation. Here's my problem, and I'm not trying to criticize Fox News, but you see stuff going on in like Virginia or Florida, and you think that might be happening here in BISD, and it's just not. It's not. We don't teach critical race theory. We're not teaching all this other business that you see being taught in Fairfax County, Virginia. or in Washington State or in San Francisco. That's not happening in Burleson.
You hear it enough, you believe it.
Yeah, right. I mean, again, we have issues,
Right.
but we don't have those issues.
Those are just a few of the things that I've heard. And I haven't heard a lot of complaints. I mean, I'm having to fish in my brain. Okay, what have I heard?
That's good. Well, that's a good thing, though.
There's little things, and this is something I've thought up too. I'd love to see our website be a little more accessible, kind of like the city is. When you need to go put money on your kid's charge account, you hit add money to my kid's account instead of having to go search through it. Or now we're in this cashless deal when you want to go to a football game. Now, luckily, or baseball or basketball, whatever it is, and you have to go to the website and buy your tickets. If we could buy sporting tickets, was a button on the front of the page. Very similar to what the city has. And Grandview has that when I was looking at their website, where it's just a lot easy clicks to find information, or when meetings are, what events is happening today. Just a pretty simple, accessible calendar that's just boom, right there.
It's interesting you mentioned that because Stacy Eisner, I know that's a concern of hers. We talked, I haven't seen her since the fall, but we talked then, and she said that's one of her goals is to make it more user-friendly to the point where, through, as you just suggested, clicking buttons as opposed to having to surf the net or whatever. And that also was the impetus of having BISD come on the show once a month.
Yeah.
And so people would know more about it, because it is kind of, trying to navigate a website for us older folks in particular. I mean, I have to ask my daughter how to do something and that kind of thing. But that's a good concern.
And that brings up something else I've kind of learned, Brad, through this process and talking, is we come up with concerns, and a lot of the concerns I've had, and you go sit down with somebody in the district and they already know about it, and they're already kind of working on it, or it's already on the radar. They are on it.
Here,
seem to be.
And as a teacher, I should think sometimes BISD's got to be the craziest place, the biggest zoo you'll ever imagine. And then I talk to other teachers from other districts, and it turns out BISD ain't so bad.
Go teach in Fort Worth for a few years.
Yeah, right. And they mention, I don't want to mention a lot of the schools because I don't want to insult anybody, but they're local DFW area schools. I see them at seminars or whatever. And if you go to those seminars, you see the same people, and you just hear about some of the hijinks that are going on with their school boards or with their administration or what's going on their campus or whatever. Like, I'm okay where I'm at, it's fine. It's not so bad after all.
I coming from a behavior background, and dude, there is no doubt there are behavior issues in this district, which is another concern you hear about. Oh, these kids are allowed to do da-da-da-da. Go work in some of those districts. Go into some of those classrooms. Thank God we don't have to deal with a lot of them. We have our own issues, but it's very minimal compared to those. And
what my teacher friends tell me is it's not so much like dangerous kind of discipline issues and such as that. It's just tardies, not clearing the hall in time, maybe wise guy attitudes or smart mouth. Phones are a big problem. Try to keep them off the phones. Those kind of issues that you're dealing with an immature audience, and they're, maybe we need to tighten up that. There are fights occasionally and that kind of stuff, but they had fights when you and I were in high school. We probably were involved in a couple of them.
There's no behavior that I've heard about that wasn't going on in the 90s when I was in early 90s in high school. I mean,
when I was going to the late 70s, we had a smoking area, and the teachers and the students would share cigarettes together.
I went to a very small high school that they were separate, but you used to have that used to be the student smoking lounge back not long ago.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So it was a different, some of those same problems of attitude and not getting homework in time, or, being
a 16-year-old punk.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I run across a lot of these today, and they're like kind of almost embarrassed. I'm like, you were just a 15-year-old kid. Relax, so I'm sorry I acted like I did. And I said, well, you acted like most other 15-year-old kids did, and you see them and they're grown and they have children and they've got jobs and careers, and they really turned out to be pretty good people. And you knew that then, because most of my kids that gave me discipline issues was mostly inattention, talking, occasionally a little bit of smart mouth, that kind of thing. And I guess a lot of parents would like to go back to what they experienced, where you wised off to the teacher, there'd be some consequences. And I don't know if that happens anymore. And, and what my colleagues tell me is that it's not dangerous, but it is too loose for their their purposes.
I could see that. Not advocating one way or another, but when I was in high school, every teacher pretty much still had their own paddle hanging by their door. I mean,
but for us, it was the coaches. You don't want if you did something, when the teachers would tell the coaches, and they would either run your butt off or give it a couple of whacks. And I would tell the story about how there was an administrator named Beverly Self, and the old timers will remember her. And she was a vice principal. He was in the late 80s when it started. And I was hired in mid-October, and the kids knew I was some rookie. And, man, they tore me up, the first month. They just killed me. Well, not even the first month, but the first week. Yeah, it was the first week because they knew I hadn't any skill in controlling a class. And Miss Self, my room had 2 entrances, and one of them went to the back of the office where her office was. And she said, look, don't even bother writing them. Just send them down here. I'll give them a whack and then come back. And so that one day I said, okay, I am going to be, using Miss Self, and you can just better get your mind right. And I was probably sending her about 30 kids a week. And, for about the first month. And I said, aren't you getting tired? She said, no, I'm just getting warmed up. and she and David Dunn, who's still around, he's still in the community, and Susan Shehay, they saved my career. Because I was about thinking, I'm going to go back to sacking groceries if this keeps up, So, but
you hadn't learned that "don't smile before Thanksgiving" line.
Well, I started October 17th as an emergency replacement. A woman's husband got transferred, and so I just took her place. And I still think about those days in that first week and how tough it is.
Oh, middle school's tough.
7th grade and 8th grade, there's spawns of Satan. That's that. 7th through 9th grade is the hardest grades to teach by far. It's so many different things going on.
And the kids are at so many different places. Mm-hmm. I mean, one academically, but just physically,
Right. And that's where the really serious problems start showing up, is usually by the 8th grade, not seniors. By the time I got them as juniors and seniors, a lot of the really serious problems either had been, moved out to another type of situation, or they'd straightened up. And so I didn't have a lot of the problems my colleagues who taught younger kids did. Right.
Absolutely.
That's but as far as a school board member, kind of getting back to that, it's going to be tough in some ways because you want to make changes, but change happens slowly in any organization. And, people don't always understand that. They think if they talk to you, you're going to snap your fingers and boom, it's going to be fixed. It's a little bit tougher than that, and if you win, like I say, you'll find that out because in Texas law, you have to have public hearings like 3 times before you make major changes in policy. And all this, and you'll find out about open meetings acts. Has the school district alerted you about some of these parameters of how and what a school board member can and can't do?
A little bit. We got a packet when we signed up, and I read through some of that packet. I hadn't studied it really hard just yet. So I'm gonna put I don't know. A little bit here and there.
Well, there's a learning curve with any new position, certainly. I could give you a couple of tips. One is the Open Meetings Act is taken pretty seriously in this state. So if you and a couple of your new board member colleagues get together at our place for coffee, you probably better talk about football or something.
Right, yeah.
Because you talk policy, you could be in violation of that meeting. And because I was on a committee down in Austin for 7 years, and that we were very strictly monitored about that. Your communications between board members will probably be open record too. So you'd have to be real careful about what you say and those kind of things. So, it just, being on any elected official has, let's just say the responsibilities far outweigh whatever privileges that come with it. You might get a good seat at the football game, but that's about it. They do have a box up at BHS Stadium.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, BISD Stadium. It's still Elk Stadium to me.
Don't forget us on the other side of town.
Oh boy, no, but they have a box, and so sometimes they can, you get a good seat, good view, but that's about it.
Be nice on those cold games in November.
You have any kind of campaign events coming up?
Yeah, I do. So on Saturday, there is a new restaurant. For those who maybe you've seen it, I've put it on Facebook. My buddy Brent Earhart's opened up a restaurant called Hilltop Dough, and it's not a bakery. It's DEAUX. It's a Cajun theme restaurant. His grand opening is actually Saturday. He'll be open 3 to 10. He'll have live music there 5 to 8. Pardon me.
Go ahead.
I will be there 5 to 8. I'm going to do a little meet and greet. I might be there a little longer. Part of the grand opening. Come see me. Answer any questions. Talk to people. Please reach out on social media. I'm busy at work, but I am accessible, and I will continue to be accessible the best I can. Facebook Messenger, my phone number. Here's more transparency. I have to be the world's worst on names and faces, and I apologize to people. Let's just make it. Sometimes you come up. If you're not wearing a Hawaiian shirt, Brad, I'm not going to know it's you at our place in the morning, you know?
Yeah.
And so I
fine.
Apologize, but just come see me, talk to me. But yeah, we'll be there Saturday. I'll be there 5 to 8-ish, and love to meet you guys.
Well, if you're open to suggestions, the farmer's market's always good for a little handshaking and whatever, just to go about. I don't know about having a booth there or anything like that.
Right.
I can't speak for Chaz Forster, but, that's not uncommon at all for candidates to go around and, shake hands and kiss babies or whatever they still do, and, as far as other venues, I'm not going to put them on the spot, but I bet a lot of them will be open to you because most people are pretty generous about that. As far as any other activities like that, I don't know of anything that's civic right at the top of my head between now and Election Day. And so it's coming close, isn't it? It really
We're getting
is.
there.
Yeah, it is. And, I really, we're getting close on time. And I just say before you get the last word, I'd like to say I appreciate your transparency earlier. I know it was difficult, and I'm sorry it happened. As a parent, I know that it's tough. And so I hope your son finds some sort of place at Godly that will make him feel at home. And I appreciate the fact that, you didn't try to sweep this under the rug or something like that.
I wanted to.
Yeah, well, I know we all do. When it's our kids, we don't want anybody, but I appreciate the fact that you said, okay, I'm going to confront this openly and honestly, and you certainly did.
Well, and I might be in hot water. My wife wasn't 100. She knew, and we discussed, but I don't know if she was 100% on board with, and she may not know exactly how open I'd planned on being, but
well,
it is what it is. So
yeah, it is what it is. And also appreciate your willingness to serve. If elected, I know it's going to be a lot of responsibility. I have no idea how this election is going to turn out. There's, you're running against a quality opponent, as you know, and he said the same about you when he was on the show. That he was what's a good word for it? Relieved, in a sense, that he's going to be. He knew he wouldn't be having to run a tough race in terms of personal stuff and junk and all this other stuff. He knew it was going to be a quality race.
When I signed up for this, one of the pieces of advice I got was, don't ever mention your opponent. Don't ever. But I didn't know him going into this. He is such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Like every time I've ran into him at Kroger the other day, and it's just like, my wife's like, who's that? And I'm like, we're running against each other.
No stink eye or nothing like that.
No, he's nice. He's a nice guy.
He'll be on the show again in a week or so, but I've talked to him, and he's like, he said, I'm glad that he has an opponent that he doesn't have to worry about, being a little bit loose with the facts or whatever else, whatever you want to phrase it. So it's a mutual respect. And I'm glad to hear
that's
it.
good to hear.
It is. It really is. But I'll let you have the last word. Tell us why we should be voting for Rob Duke.
Oh, awesome. Well, quality person here. You just heard it from Brad. And no,
Okay.
Hey, I really want to represent this school or this district. I am a parent. I have been an educator, and I live in this community. And I think those are three valuable assets to have. I have my issues, I have my warts, but I've navigated the system as all three. I think it's an important job you're given to be a steward of our resources that are provided, and to be the shepherd, be one of the shepherds for our kids and our youth. And I just really would love that opportunity to work as a elected official for you guys. Sorry, I'm kind of brain malfunction there for a second.
I'm quite used to that on this end of the table. Thinking I'm going to have some coherent thought, and then I'm chasing rabbits. I appreciate you coming on the show, and I wish you the best of luck. And like I said, if you're elected, I think we're going to be in good hands.
Hey, thank you. That means a lot, and I appreciate the platform and getting a chance to talk to everybody.
All right. So they'll also be on the Facebook very, very quickly. It's live Facebook, but also throw it up on the on other pages as well. And here's the deal about the scheduling. I was going to have Kyle Geller and Deanna Newton on Thursday, but they're going to be at a seminar for Summit Education, I guess, and I was invited to that as well. So we will not be having a show Thursday. I'll be at that summit, but we will have Caleb Mitchell on. He's running for place 4 on the school board. He'll be here at 11 on Friday. Special show on Friday. So I'll see you in a couple of days. Not my usual Thursday, but I'll see you on Friday. So goodbye and see you later.